Welcome everybody, thanks for taking the time to watch our segment of this video. My name's Steve Townley and I'm the Head of Customs and International Trade here at Jordan Freight. Now Jordan Freight has over 22 years experience in road freight from Europe, and my background is in customs compliance, working with agencies such as Customs, DEFRA and the Forestry Commission to make sure that our importers and our exporters understand the requirements and everything they need to do to bring their products successfully into the UK from the EU. So, I'm here to try and give you some support, some guidance and some explanation about the changes that are going to take place for plants and plant-based products that are coming to the UK from the EU starting from January 2022. So, firstly I'd like to take a step back to January 2021. Now, as we know, the UK left the EU with a free trade agreement. Now this meant that there was going to be additional requirements, customs declarations to be made for any of the products coming to the UK. However, the UK adopted a phased approach for some products to limit the impact that the Brexit would have on these products. So for plants and plant-based products, the first real restrictions come into place from January 2022 and finish in March 2022. What we're hoping is to give you some guidance and some support to understand what these changes are, how they impact your business, and what we and you can do to help minimise this impact and get yourself structured correctly to take place from January 2021. So the new rules that are coming into effect are for plants and plant-based products. So what we'd like to first of all explain is what is classed as a plant or a plant-based product. Well, a plant is a living plant or a plant at any stage of its growth. Now this can include trees and shrubs. A plant product is a product of plant origin that's in an unprocessed state. This also includes any wood or bark. So your plants and plant-based products are going to be assigned into two distinct categories. Now the first category is regulated plants and plant-based products. The second category is high priority plants and plant-based products. Now there's going to be a distinct difference in how these are managed and the timelines. So a full link of what's classed as a plant-based high priority and a plant-based regulated can be found on this link. So the first thing we're going to do is talk about your high priority plants and plant-based products. And the reason we're going to talk about these first is because the first set of changes is going to come into effect for high priority plants from the 1st of January 2022. Now there's going to be three distinct things that you're going to need to do for your high priority plants. Firstly, you're going to need to provide a phytosanitary certificate for any high priority goods that are imported to the UK from the EU. Secondly, you're going to need to make a pre-notification on the PEACH system. Now if you don't know what the PEACH system is, it's the DEFRA system which is used to make electronic declarations to pre-notify DEFRA of the arrival of your high priority plants and plant-based products. Now you must be registered on the government gateway and enrolled on the PEACH service to make these declarations. Lastly, your goods that are classed as high priority plants or plant-based products must transport via border control post. Now, a full list of the border control posts can be found on this link. The role of the border control post is to perform any physical or documentation checks on your high priority goods. They can then be given permission to enter, or they could be sent for further checks or actually rejected from the UK, but they must go via a border control post before they can be delivered onto the final receiver's address. So we've talked about high priority plants and plant-based products. What we're going to do now is we're going to talk to you about regulated plants and plant-based products. There's going to be changes to regulated plants and plant-based products as well, with one distinct difference. So for regulated plants and plant-based products, you still need to provide a phytosanitary for any of these goods which are imported to the UK from the EU. You're still going to be required to make a pre-notification on the PEACH system. The biggest change is that for regulated plants and plant-based products, they won't need to go via a border control post until the 1st of March 2022. So just to recap, high priority plants and plant-based products will need to go via border control posts from the 1st of January 2022. Regulated plants and plant-based products won't need to go via border control posts until the 1st of March 2022. Again, a full list can be found on this link on the Plant Health portal. So it's worth mentioning at this point that there are some unregulated plants and plant products that don't need to go through phytosanitary controls. Now, the list is quite extensive, but they do cover things like bananas, dates, prepared salads, soups, and sandwiches. So they are plants or plant products, but they don't have to go through these phytosanitary controls. Like we said, the list is quite extensive, so if you're in any doubt as to whether your products will or won't have to go through controls, it's worth looking into in more detail, and the full list can be found online, and the link's here. We've spoken about different plants and plant products being assigned different categories, whether it's high priority or regulated. Take the time to go through each of your products and assign them to the correct category. Are they high priority or are they regulated? Put each product into a category so you understand which ones will need to go via a border control post from January and which ones will need to go from a border control post in March. Ensure your suppliers are proficient in getting phytosanitary certificates issued. There's going to be a sharp increase in the amount of phytosanitary certificates that are requested and are needed from the 1st of January 2022. You need to speak to your suppliers and ask them to speak to their local authorities to understand whether they have the resource to issue these certificates within the current timeframes that they do. We know that there's going to be a sharp increase in the amount of phytos being required. What we don't know is whether the local authorities are going to be able to issue these certificates within the current timeframes, or whether this is going to be extended. Now, it may be that your goods are ready and they may be time sensitive, but if you can't get your phytosanitary certificate issued, your goods won't be allowed to enter the UK because they won't be able to complete the PEACH declaration. Whether your goods are high priority goods or regulated goods, they will all need a PEACH declaration made from the 1st of January 2022. You need to decide whether this is something that you're going to complete internally or whether it's something you're going to subcontract out to a third party. You may decide it's better for you to do this internally and control it yourselves. It may mean that you have such a high volume of declarations, it may be better for you to start contract this out to an agent. It's worth remembering at this point, not all customs agents are able to complete peach declarations. So you do need to find one, you need to have that conversation, and you need to get an agreement in place and discuss with them the number of peach declarations you expect them to be able to complete, so you can start factoring in that cost to your supply chain. Now, the UK does have a current shortage of customs trained agents. So again, you need to be having that conversation now, so you have someone in place who knows that they're going to take over this responsibility from January 2022. There will be additional costs for raising further phytosanitary certificates. There will be further costs either internally or by contracting out to a third party to have your peach declarations made. There will be additional costs for transport because goods will have to go via a border inspection post. This increased mileage will normally result in an increased cost for the transport. The other thing is the lead times. Because the vehicle will have to go via a border inspection post, it will increase the travelling distance and the travelling time for your goods. This is something you need to think about and something you'll need to discuss with your hauliers to really understand what that additional lead time and the additional cost is going to mean for your supply chain. You may want to consider how you load your goods in the EU at origin. Remember, your high priority goods are going to have to go via a border inspection post from the 1st of January 2022. Your regulated plants aren't going to have to go via a border inspection post until March 2022. However, if you're mixing regulated and high priority plants, they will all go via a border inspection post from January. You may want to look and consider whether you are able to separate these loads so your regulated goods aren't going via border inspection post unnecessarily. You want to be communicating with your transport providers as early as possible if you haven't already done so. The reason this is there is currently a shortage of transport providers that are coming to the UK due to the extra restrictions and regulations that are in place. Now, your goods are going to be subject to extra restrictions and these regulations. It may be that your current transport provider isn't happy to carry on carrying your goods. So you need to communicate with them now or as soon as possible and explain to them that from January there's going to be extra checks in place. They will need to go via a border inspection post. They'll need to understand where the nearest border inspection post is. They'll need to factor in the additional mileage, and they will need to factor in additional costs for the haulage to take place. The reason we say that we should be having these conversations now is because you don't want to be in a position where you have your phytosanitary certificates, you have your plants and plant-based products, they're ready to load, and then your haulier tells you that they're no longer happy to carry these goods because of the extra delays that the goods could suffer. By making them aware in advance and nice and early, it ensures that they are committed to carrying your goods from the 1st of January, knowing all the extra regulations that are in place. It's worth remembering at this point that not all of your goods will be selected for examination. They will need to go via a border inspection post, and they will be checked for documentation and labelling, but not all your goods will be selected for further examinations or checks. These checks are based on the plant product itself, and each one will be selected for certain criteria. Some products have a minimum of 1% checks, some have 5% checks. So although your goods will have to go via a border inspection post, they won't all be subject to severe delays. Some could be delayed just for a matter of minutes while docs and labelling checks take place. Others may be delayed for slightly longer. However, you won't know this until the goods arrive at the border inspection post. But it's worth factoring in and having that assurance that not all your products will suffer serious delays and setbacks. Try and ensure that all your packaging, labelling and documentation is clear and concise. Your labelling, packaging and documentation should be consistent. Remember, the more clear, concise and consistent your documentation is, the easier it's going to be for the authorities to identify, to make their checks and to release your goods. If anything conflicts, doesn't make sense or doesn't tie up, this could raise a query and cause your goods to go for further inspections and have further delays. So we recommend have a look at the moment at your labels, your packaging, your documentation, and just do a quick check. Is it the same? Is there any differences? Is there anything that flags up that would raise an alarm? If there is, you still have time to make changes now and put things in place ready for the 1st of January 2022. We strongly recommend avoiding any last minute changes as much as possible. We know this is always going to happen at some point, but the more you can factor into your supply chain, avoiding any last minute changes, the smoother and better your shipments are going to go. There's a lot of additional documentation requirements now, with customs declarations, phytosanitary certificates, labelling and packaging. Every time there's a last minute change and it requires your documentation to be redone, it opens up the chance that something is going to get missed or a mistake is going to get made. That mistake could lead to a query at the border inspection post or a query by customs. Every time there's a query, it further delays the successful delivery of your goods. So by avoiding last minute changes, it increases the success rate of your goods being delivered on time without any unnecessary delays. So from myself and the team at Jordan Freight, I'd like to say thank you for taking the time to watch this video. We really have tried to keep things to the basics because there's a lot of information available and there's quite a lot to digest. We understand that each supply chain and each customer is completely different. So if you do have any questions, or there's anything that we haven't covered, or you'd just like to know a little bit more, then please don't hesitate to get in contact with us directly and we'll do everything we can to try and help you.